Hi everyone, so this video is going to be a new craft update. So first I just have these charms that I showed you in my previous video, and I've just glazed all of these so they look a lot more shiny now. So I have the Furby, the little bear, and the three dark minions, and then Mike and Sully. And then what I've also done is I've glazed all the other minion charms and everything else. So here's just a shocked face, and I put it on a cell phone strap. And then for this guy, I also made a banana charm, so it kind of looks like he's hungry and wants to eat the banana. So I really like how that turned out. Then I've also glazed a little bear that I put with a little heart, so it looks really cute now. I love the way that it's really shiny from the glaze, and I just think it turned out really cute. And then what I did was I put some ball chains onto these two pendants that I made, so it can be a necklace now. So this is just the butterfly one that I had also glazed, and hopefully you can see that it's pretty shiny. And then the last one is this little octopus one, and I've also glazed that as well, and I put it on a ball chain, so that's what it looks like now. And then for the new charms that I made, first I have this little crazy kraken, and this is inspired by Fancy Acid, and I'll put his links down in the description box if you want to check him out, because he has some great videos. So I just made this little kraken holding like a pirate's chest or something, and I really like how kind of animated it looks, and I just think it's really cute. Then for a friend of mine, I made this Simba charm, and I hope it turned out pretty good. I think it did. It's probably one of the most difficult charms that I made, because the clay was so incredibly soft and it was really difficult to like keep its shape, but I think I did pretty well on it anyway. I painted the details on the ears, the eyes, and the little whiskers here, just because I didn't want them to like fall off or anything. So that's the little Simba charm. Then out of some scrap clay, I just made this tiny little robot because I thought it was pretty cute. So there's like a ball shaped head pin on the top here, plus a screw pin so you can attach it to like a phone charm or something. And I just think it looks pretty cute. Then I also made this little minion in a panda costume with holding a bamboo stick, and this is kind of similar to the design that I have on my business card. If you've ever seen that, it's just a little panda that I drew and it's holding a little bamboo stick, but because I love minions, I just wanted to turn one into a panda version. And hopefully you can see what I did was I textured and shaded like the entire outside of the costume. So it's not just flat, it actually has some texture to it. So hopefully you can see that. Now the charm is glazed, so some of the detail has kind of gone away with the glaze, but I think it looks okay anyway. And then for a trade that I'm doing with Fancy Acid, I made a couple of charms. So first is this little acid bottle, and the corrosion sign is there, and I just drew that on a piece of paper and I stuck it on. And then I put this Black Widow spider on top of it because I thought it would look really cool. So that's what that looks like. Then I made this Jack Skellington charm, and if you're interested, I'm going to put a link down below to my DeviantArt account, because I've actually made this charm before, but it was a lot more simple in design. So I used this as an opportunity to make kind of like a before and after charm. So this is of course the after version, and I think it turned out really cool. I tried to make it as realistic as possible, so I put like some sculpting into Jack's face there, if you can see that, and I just think it looks really cool. And for the background, I actually mixed some purple, blue, pink, white, and like glittery black clay to make it kind of like a galaxy swirl or something, and then I just shaded it black on the back because I didn't really like the design here. So that's what that looks like. Then I also made this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle charm, and I can't remember which character this is because I could never remember the colors of their bands or anything, but this is the one that has the two kind of swords. So if you can see that, I made them out of some wire and some silver clay. And then for the rest of the body, I just used some regular green clay, and then I just shaded the shell a little bit with some chalk pastels before I baked it. So I really think that turned out pretty cute. Then I also made this little guy, and this is the drawing on the avatar from Marcus or Fancy Acid. And so I just made this into a little kind of chibi, but then on the top it has this skull mask, and if you hold it like this, I think it looks pretty cool. And then I use googly eyes again for the features and the face, and clay for everything else. So I just think that looks really cool. And then I also did some kind of sculpture and just added some more design onto the skull and to make it look a little bit more realistic. And then I also made this charm, which is 2 parts, and the first one is just a skull, and I just shaped it out of white clay, and I used a tutorial by Sugar Charm Shop that I'm going to link down in the description box if you want to have a look at that as well. And then I also made these 2 crossbones, and I carved out Fancy Acid on it, and then I just painted that in. And then the last charm that I made for the trade is this tag that I have a tutorial on, so I'll link that down below as well. And this is one I made for like a leather looking kind of a tag, and then I just typed in, well, I carved out Marcus here, and that's painted in. And I only have one side of it glazed at the moment because the glaze takes a long time to dry, so I just still have to do the underside. Then for a friend of mine, I made this 9 Inch Nails tag because he's a really big fan of the band, and I made it kind of cool looking with the texture because I put in some indents here. I'm not sure if you can see them, but I just think it looked really, really cool, and again I have to glaze the underside. And then I also made this coin, and this is from the show Game of Thrones, and I just found a tutorial on DeviantArt for how to make this, so once again the link will be down in the description box. And I just thought it turned out really, really cool, and it was a great project because all the letters are actually carved out in the clay. They're not painted on, like you can actually feel that there's like texture to it there. And then I just added some design on the top, so I have the top glazed, and again I have to do the bottom, but I really love how this turned out. Then I also made this tiny little squid, and I have him just sitting in the bottle, and it's attached to the cork. So I just made this out of like a translucent peach color, and I added some silver on top of it then, just to kind of make it look more realistic. And I just put it in this bottle because I really have no idea what to do with it, and I just think it looks kind of cool, the fact that it's like angled and it looks like he's swimming or something. I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet. Then I also made 2 figurines of dragons, and I used a tutorial for this. Again, I'm going to have that down in the description box. So the first one that I made is this guy here, and hopefully you can see him well enough because the red clay picks up slightly weird on my camera and it just kind of all blends in together, so I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it. But there is the head of the dragon here, and I carved in like nostrils and a mouth for it, and the body just kind of spirals around these rocks, and I added in some glitter here to make it look like they've been on fire. And then his wing is just folded here, and I added some like orange, red and yellow dots on it just for a design. So that's what that looks like. The second one I made is this one here, and he is spitting fire, and I made this one out of like a ruby red clay instead of just plain red, so it kind of has a sparkle to it and it looks a little bit cooler. So again, this is the wing here that I added just some gold paint, and his body spiraled around these pebbles again with some glitter for the like fire or ashes or whatever you want to call them. So that's what that looks like. And then the last 2 figurines that I made are these 2 figurines of Gur holding a stash of waffles. So the first one is this one where it's just waffles on a plate and Gur's kind of standing next to them wanting to eat them. And then the second one is where he's holding the plate like as if he's presenting it to somebody. So I thought they turned out really cool. They're pretty tiny, like this is my thumb in comparison. So I thought they look really, really cool. And then the last polymer clay thing that I made is this figurine of the Lorax. And what I did was I just took a plain square woodsy and I covered it with some brown and green clay for like the ground and the grass, and I textured the clay here as well. Hopefully you can see that. So the ground is textured kind of like swirly to make it look kind of messy, and then the grass has an actual grain to it. And then I made the Lorax, and if you're wondering what these little patches are, they're just sanded off like dust and speckles like that, and I'm still considering whether or not I should glaze this because I don't want the glaze to take away too much of the detail. But anyway, here is the top of his head. So I made the mustache and the brows out of like a pale yellow color, and then I just shaded the outside, and then there's the eyes here, and his entire body is textured into like the fur. And then for the tree, what I did was I just took some red clay, and hopefully you can see the detail on that, and I just kind of shaped it into the spiral of like what the trees looked like, and then I added in some extra texture. So hopefully you can get an image of what that looks like. It's just plain on the back. I didn't really bother doing anything to that, but then you can just see the texture here. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. The only structural support I suppose I used for this is some tinfoil inside his body because I didn't want to waste that much clay, and then I have some wire in the stem of the tree, and it's actually soft wire, so you can still somewhat ever so slightly kind of bend it forward or backward. So I really like how this turned out. And then the other crafts that I have is first this little Simba keychain that I made, and I just took some tan felt and I used 3D fabric paints that I diluted with water, and I just painted on all these details, and on the back I just have like a sunset scene like you would see in The Lion King. The next plushie that I made is this little Furby, and I just made this out of felt that I got in a trade, so I wanted to kind of play around with it and use it. So I made my own patterns for this again, and this is just what it looks like, and I think it's really cool. And then I made this little minion charm, and I've actually used like a really thick yellow felt. If you can see the arm, like this is just one layer of that felt, which is really thick compared to like the regular felt. So I made the entire body and the top of the head out of that, and then I just used some regular felt for like the clothes, the eyes, and all that stuff, and then I just used some 3D paint for the mouth. So there's some hair on the top there, and this is what he looks like. I also made this Simba coaster, and I painted the top and the sides, and then I just glazed it with resin on the top. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this craft update, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye everyone!